Thanks for coming on, you guys, to class 2 of the Animal Remedies. And today's such a fun class. It's about mammals. And I think everybody online or watching has such a close feeling with a mammal or a group of mammals in their heart. And we have a lot of love, and we are mammals, right? So there's that overlap as well. We get them and they get us. And so when you guys, I was just talking to Sarah about the cats, and maybe you each have your own little thing with the mammals. When I say mammal, what comes to mind? Like, what words come to mind, or what animals, what word? Just like right away, off the top of your head, type it in the little chat box. Milk. Mammal, mammae, breast, mammae, breast, milk, mama, mammal, milk, dogs, cats, milk, wild. So there's the wild and the domesticated, aspect of mammals. Nurturing, absolutely. Warmth, warm-blooded, mothering. Yeah, so mammals, some of your kids kind of have learned that in biology, right? They're defined by their breasts and their milk and their live young. We give birth to live, not eggs. And so that's what mammals are. We are mammals, and I think, as humans, we try to separate ourselves from the animal kingdom. In this class, the whole thing is really to show you how united we really are. We are the animals, and all the variation of the animal kingdom is there within the human experience. And we kind of define the human experience as, have children, put them in school, have a job. It's this whole thing, have a house, maybe get married, retire. There's this kind of spectrum of the story of the human experience. But when I share these cases with you, I want you to see how varied the experience of people have, deeply and internally, and how varied your experiences are from other people. So, and how beautifully varied too. The animal kingdom, that whole spectrum of what is in the animal kingdom within us creates this variability that's really beautiful. So I want to start with a guided meditation into the essence of the mammal today. And we're going to, since most of you, 99% of you are moms, maybe some of you are to-be moms, but most of you are moms. This is like our instincts as a mom is our mammal instinct. So we're going to go into the mammal experience as mothers, and that feeling of the sensory experience of being a mother. So I just want you to close your eyes. Close your eyes and take a deep breath in and out. And just feel your body, feel kind of if there's fat layers on your belly, your breasts. And actually what I want you to do, you guys, you guys are all in private. I want you to smell yourself. Like, smell your body, smell your skin, smell your armpits. Like, you can put your fingers through your hair, smell your scalp, your hands. You can even like smell your arm, feel your hair, and get into the feeling of like, we are mammals. We have this skin, we have this hair, we smell. And take a deep breath in and out. And I want you to remember when you had your babies, your baby or your babies, and you had that baby skin to skin. And it's so soft. And maybe they're nursing or they're nuzzling, and you're just there to take care. They're so helpless and they're so cute. And if you can't tap into that feeling of that closeness, try it now. Imagine if you didn't have that feeling as a child or with your own child, imagine a chimpanzee or a gorilla or a mama bear with her cubs, nuzzling, cuddling, playing. And some of you may do this more than others, smelling your child, smelling their butt, smelling the top of their head. And that sensory experience, some of you who've nursed the smell of the milk, the smell of milk breath. And just take a deep breath in and out, remembering that feeling of mothering. And now I want you to just feel into your own body. And you guys are all muted, and we're gonna do an experience here that no one has ever asked you to do before. And I'm gonna ask you to do this. I want you to feel into an emotion in your body, something that you're feeling in your chest or in your tummy, or some sort of an emotion that's there. And I want you to connect it to an animal noise, the sound that an animal would make. And it might be, or it might be, So while your sound is muted, I want you to let out a big animal noise. A growl, a grr, a meow, a whimper, a squeak. And we ask right now from our hearts, connecting with each other online tonight, that we can connect to the heart of the mammal family. We are mammals. We are not separate from the mammals. And may you speak to us tonight so that we can understand you at the deepest level possible and prescribe remedies to help heal the human condition. All right. All right, awesome. You can open your eyes. Did you guys make the noise? Did anybody? Yeah, yes! I was thinking about that noise. I was thinking about how like special needs kids make weird noises, right? And I went to a cranial sacral therapist this week for Eva, and she said in her birth, she made these noises that canceled out her pain. And then I remembered that too, like when you can really like, like get low, you can like kind of like get into the pain. And it's like those noises are part of our sensory experience. And mammals make a lot of interesting noises. Like fish don't make noise necessarily. Mollusks don't. Birds are another category. Spiders don't make really much noise. But the mammals communicate, right? And they make a lot of noises. And our kids make noises like animals a lot. And that's an interesting thing because they're kind of telling us something that is resonating for them. Deep, low noise to get out of your head. Yeah, I think when you can vibrate your lips, it helps open up the cervix. So yes, Crystal, tell us about your son's noises. It is like a high-pitched squeak squeal, right? And we feel like maybe he's hearing a lot of EMF, or there's like a static noise that he's hearing and he needs to cancel it out. But we also gave him the remedy of lac dolphinum, dolphin, which also makes a high squeal. So, okay, vibrational humming. Yes, growl, be a mama. So, wonderful. I'm going to start with a case tonight Actually, I'm gonna review the mammal themes first. Okay. I saw a show where a hunter was trying to call in a bull elk and it made a sound like an elk cow and realized that's what my laboring noise sounded like. I wish I had a recording of my laboring noise. Oh my gosh, everybody heard me. Dolphin, right? Yes. Um, okay. All right, so the mammals. According to Sankaran, they're the most evolved and intelligent. I wouldn't say that that plays any role in prescribing. That doesn't, you can't say, oh, this is an evolved child, so I'm going to give a mammal remedy. But as a group of animals, they have unique behavior sets. The strong maternal instinct, learning by imitation. So you guys have all seen like nature videos where there's little cubs copying the mom, and the mom is teaching them what to do, and they're playing, and you have all seen this with your kids. Um, Highly adaptable, modifying behavior to suit their circumstances. Um, Communication is important. The group, safety within a group, a herd, is very, so this group mentality is a very mammal thing. Being leaders of a group or being submissive within the group. Guarding territory. The words flight, freeze, fight, or flight is very important. Okay. So in my notes that I've sent you, I've actually collected lots of other homeopaths notes. Massimo is a well-known homeopath, Lou Klein. Some of these are from Julie in Los Angeles and my experiences too. The mammals, it's interesting because there's 3 types of substances. There's milk, there's fur, actually there's probably more. There's horns, there's milk, there's fur, there's blood. Most of the remedies are in the milk form. And that's why I think we have this overlap. When you take a milk remedy, there's an overlap with the mothering component, and the nurturing that kind of pops up a little bit stronger and more apparently because it's a milk. And so these milk remedies tend to be particularly good for women's hormonal issues, ovarian, irregular cycles, breast issues. Yeah, sepia is an ink, right? Ambergris is actually bile, so whale bile. Ambergris is an actual perfume ingredient that would wash up on shore, and they would use it in perfumes, and it's whale bile. So there's, the blood of an animal might, I don't know for sure. I actually haven't researched this, and maybe Sarah, you have a better sense of this, or whoever's a homeopath, but blood I see as being circulatory, heart, about heat and the heart chakra. You know, each remedy has its unique component. Fur, the birds have are all from feathers. They usually make the remedies from feathers. So that being said, there is this aspect of hormone with the milks, and a lot of the remedies from mammals being from milks. I'm gonna share a rat case with you. It's not from rat milk, I'm pretty sure. I think it's from rat hair. I'm not sure if you can milk a rat. Okay, so some of the themes that I've seen for mammal remedies with the pediatric and autism behaviors in Asperger's cases that I've seen. Now, an unusual amount of Asperger's cases that I've seen have overlapped with the mammals. It's just happened that way. And I think it's because the mammal remedies, they like to be social. They want to be social, but they have their unique obsessional hobby. They get really into a certain little thing, and it makes them kind of Asperger's-y, right? But they're not antisocial. They want to be social, but they want to socialize in their own way. So these kids, you have to socialize on their terms. Like it has to be what they want to do. It's their thing, you know? So it's kind of like a dog. It comes and runs up to you. It's not going to sit and have tea with you. It wants to socialize on his terms, meaning you have to play catch, you know, and do what he wants and scratch his back, right? So I have definitely seen, I don't know if they actually still give Asperger's diagnosis, but I think that the terminology stuck around, that people kind of get it. They're like, it's that quirky, you know, kind of person who has their unique behaviors and maybe a little bit their unique way of thinking. Temple Grandin. I don't know if any of you guys saw the video link. Do you guys know who Temple Grandin is? So she's put a lot of videos out there about autism, and she has an autism or Asperger's diagnosis. And the video link, oh, you met her a couple times. Type in what she was like. Yeah, you know, she's probably would do really well with a mammal remedy, and that's what she ended up helping, right? She ended up going into the sensory experience of animals and was able to help them and develop cattle infrastructure so they don't get so freaked out when they're going to slaughter and they're being kind of moved around. So directional, she's very directional with thought and speech. Yeah, she's very like very solid, you know. Yeah, they say that girl who Greta Thunberg, the girl who's wants to, the environmentalist who's going to save the world, you know, they say she has Asperger's when she speaks. Have you seen her? Very directional, very concrete. So that being said, there's also something to say about maybe with that kind of Asperger's concrete, directional, not very maybe emotional. Maybe the emotions are a little cut off, you know, or aren't fully connected. And you can see that in the whole spectrum of kids, right? Where the emotions aren't as fully apparent. And that is part of the immune system, not, you know, not as responsive, if that makes any sense. So pandas, autism, Asperger's, a lot of these kids will have emotional extremes, or they'll be kind of emotionally robotic. And it's part of the emotional spectrum not having as much adaptability and flexibility depending on the circumstances that they're in. Does that make sense? Yeah. Greta, is that her name, Greta? Her dad said she didn't speak before her climate activism. I think directional means kind of like, this is how it is, kind of very black and white. I don't know if that's the right way of saying it, but very like fact oriented. So these kids that I've given a lot of mammal remedies to had these quirky behaviors. They still had friends and wanted to have friends, but had a hard time with socializing too. They would feel bad easily if they were criticized. They wanted to be liked. They want to be part of the group. They don't want to be an outcast. A lot of them, there's this milk thing. It's a milk remedy. Have issues with milk or lactose intolerance. Have issues with space. So they don't like people in their space. You know, it kind of like, it isn't, sometimes like they're a little too much in your space, but for the most part, I've seen a lot of kids who need these remedies, like they need their space, or hugging or touching kind of bothers them. But each mammal to its own, and we'll get to that. Nausea, regurgitation, fear of vomiting, interested in appearance. I've seen like kids who need mammal remedies love costume, love dress up, love wearing certain colors, love attention. I've seen kids who need these remedies just smell their moms, like stick their hands in her pits and smell them, and in the boobs, and have boob obsessions. And for some of you, your kids might have that because they're a mammal. You know? And I will show you a couple more cases where there's a particular animal that does stand out. Like they're like so into this one animal. There could be history of abuse in these cases as well. Now, like I said, there's the domesticated animals and wild mammals, right? Mild and domesticated. Domesticated happens a lot in the mammals, you know, and we have to just send so much love, I feel, to our domesticated friends out there, because they gave up a part of their wild source, themselves, in order to kind of serve us, you know, sadly, to be our milk and our meat and our wool and our clothing and our friends, and our pets. And they've given up a piece of themselves and they've suppressed that. And I don't, you know, we all think dogs are so great, but what I love about homeopathy is when you get the proving, you get a full picture of the essence of that animal, positive and negative. You know, and the negative of these domesticated animals is that they've given up a part of themselves. You know, when we shame a dog, like, don't poop in the house, don't pee in the house, you know, and they look, oh, and they're so sad, you know, and they like put their head down, you know, they hold that in them, you know. Dogs want to please us, right? And there's people like that, like, oh, they cannot handle being told that they're bad, and they feel so bad and embarrassed and terrible about themselves. There's this word disgusting, you know, when you feel kind of disgusting about parts of your body. So we feel like, I feel like humans in general also are this way. We've domesticated ourselves. There was a time where we walked around naked, right? And we didn't cover up, and we didn't put on deodorant, and we didn't shave. And like, we were just really like, you know, not embarrassed. I asked my husband today, I wasn't wearing a bra, and I hate bras, but you know, your nipples stick out when you're not wearing a bra. And I'm like, you know, is this a bad thing if, you know, if some friends come over, if my nipples are showing, you know? And it's kind of like, what do you do? Like, and my husband's like, why don't they just make women's shirts with like a thick layer of fabric so your nipples don't, you don't have to worry about your nipples? And I'm just like, because they don't, because our breasts are all different. And it's just crazy. It's crazy what we do to cut. And I kind of think that that does play into the whole cancer and carcinosin picture too, right? That we have to suppress this side of ourselves and our breasts, and then we put wire under our boobs. I mean, it's crazy. Actually, speaking of cancer, carcinosin overlaps with these remedies really well. For the most part, in most of my mammal remedies, carcinosin is a super common intercurrent remedy. And if you're giving carcinosin, you could think, okay, well, what is being suppressed here? Because it's a remedy for suppression. It's a remedy for suppression of the immune system. Well, what's being suppressed and what needs to emerge, and what source animal spirit needs to have its voice in this person? So a follow-up remedy after carcinosin can be a milk remedy like that. Carcinosin, and then breast milk, lactmaternum, but then, you know, horse milk, dog milk, cat milk, like different, very good for getting that person in touch with their source, with their kind of their animal side. So, yes, so animated. I like that the word animated has the word animal in it, right? And so it's like that animated, like, you know, I love that you can see the expression on animals a lot of the time, you know, and we anthropomorphize them to make them more human, but they're expressive. And so people who need the mammal remedies tend to be the psychotic or the cancer miasm. They tend to be a little bit more over the top, want to be part of the group. Maybe they want to be leader of the group, and they're expressive. Yeah. Okay, nurse. Yes, nursing. Yeah. Any questions on the themes of mammals? Because what I'm going to do is I'm going to now step into the notes and share with you notes of cases where these themes really kind of stand out. Yeah, Sarah made remedies from mother's breast milk to wean their kids off of it. 7C. Interesting. Yeah. Yeah, you know, it goes both ways, the weaning, you know, because your hormones are attached to the child, and it can be a difficult process, but yeah. So biting, biting babies I have seen with snake remedies. But you kind of have to go into it, you know, of, you know, wow, what is that? You know, or maybe the pain, maybe there's pain with the biting, that there's something that you have to process of, you know, for some women, like they're so sensitive to that whole process of the breast getting calloused and stuff, they can't get past and through that stage. So that might not be a snake thing, that might be more of like a sensitivity thing. So um so anybody who has some breast milk out there, you can share it with the group if you want to. We can make a remedy from that too. All right. I used to love the sound of the nursing, and it's like so quiet, and you hear that suckle noise, and it's just so peaceful. And yeah, and then your oxytocin is draining down. I used to have it on an older child when he was 7, and his mom had another baby, trouble realizing that the boobs were for his baby brother. Yes. Well, that's a funny thing too, because mammals have multiple teats or boobs, you know. So um, an interesting fact I learned was that a pig will secrete different types of milk in each nipple for each baby. It's amazing. You know, it's so intelligent what our body can do. So I'm gonna actually go to a case. So this is one of my first cases that really stood out for me. And I want to share this rat case. This has themes of animal in the way that, like, the T-Rex case that I shared with you last week had themes of animal, where I was like, could I seriously give an animal of the rat? This kid wanted to be a rat. Like, that was his thing. Like, he believed he was a rat. It was like that T-Rex case. Now, you know, maybe of all the cases you see, you know, a third of them are going to do super well with an animal remedy, but only like, you know, 1 out of 50 of them is a kid going to really want to be that animal. So I'm showing these cases to you because they're extremes, but don't expect to always see this. This was a really interesting case. So this was a boy who was adopted and was in an orphanage in Belarus where they had 4 nurses to 100 babies. And they were given 4 bottles a day, and that was it, and kept in a crib. So he had a lot of trauma, and they adopted him. By age 5, he got an Asperger's diagnosis and a PANDAS diagnosis. And the mom had started him on the strep nosode and sulfur, which really had helped, but we needed to go further. He had a lot of issues, and a lot of adopted kids carry over the issues from their genetic parents, from their biological parents. And that's the challenge of adoption, is that you don't know what's really happened. It was clear that the mother had syphilis, and that she maybe had been a prostitute and had had multiple children that she had just kind of given up. So where there was this story of kind of like lack of nurturing, actually. Wow, you guys are really talking about the breastfeeding here. Yeah, it's, you know, and It's good, powerful stuff. I've always thought, at what point is the food market going to start like having human breast milk for sale as an immune supportive supplement to give to kids? Because they do camel and but you have like this super healthy organic mom here in Ashland, man, her milk is primo. Anyways, this boy, when his pandas would ramp up, he would walk on all fours like an animal. When he had it really bad, he would say he was a rat. He walked around with hands up to his face and like this, and he would tell all the boys he was a rat in a boy suit. He wished he could find the zipper so he could take the human suit off. His teacher thought it was creative, but it became his reality for 1.5 to 2 years. He drew rat pictures. He would make the full rat noises. He would collect rats, which would make the mom nervous. It was extreme, right? He had a lot of itchiness. So I just want to share with you. So I'm like, okay, interesting. Like, let's just set this aside. What else is happening here? He would choose a subject and submerge himself in it. He would collect dinosaurs, Pokemon, Webkins, and then a really interesting thing he was into were hunting games. So he was into weapons, knives, hunting games. Every room in their house had to have like a hunting game type thing in it. And this is a very peaceable, progressive type of family, right? Not into hunting, but and he was obsessive about this stuff, which is very sulfur. I ended up giving this kid Heparsulf, sulfur, sulfanilamide, Natsulf, and every version of sulfur helped this kid. It was very cool. Actually, sulfanilamide is the remedy of sulfa antibiotics, and it helped clear his mental process. He became a better student after that. And we thought that maybe his mom, who had syphilis, was on possibly that antibiotic. So he's into hunting, doesn't like to be touched, always wanted his back scratched, isn't that funny? Like you think of a little rat, you're like, well, do rats like to have their back scratched? Very defensive, didn't want to feel judged, easily embarrassed. He had this behavior where he had the feeling that things were watching him. So his bathroom was decorated with little frogs, but they had to take all the frogs out of the bathroom because he felt that they were watching him. And these end up I'm like, this is so interesting. These are such interesting things. And then at the end of the case, I go and I read the proving on rat, and it says, delusions, eyes are watching them. Delusions, he's a hunter, obsessed with knives. And I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. But then you can see how that is maybe makes up the reality, the sphere of consciousness and energy around a rat, right? A rat is hunted, is despised. We chase them down. We hire people to get rid of rats and trap them. Interesting in the proving of rat also is sexuality, loose morals, easy sexuality, having lots of babies, having a lot of sex, not being able to take care of your babies, a loose morality, kind of a dirtiness associated. And you can see that in the background of the child. You can assume it given his biological mom. Let's see. Yeah, he was adopted. He felt ugly, very low self-esteem. Part of his, it can be so hard to bring a child up to average when they come from such a traumatized background. One, a mother who doesn't want them. Two, deep trauma. He was malnourished and small when they got him. His poops were like little rat poops. They were like little rock pellets when they got him from the orphanage, right? Tons of streppy stuff, the big round strep butt, the big round red circle on the anus is a very strep thing. So he got that. So you get the round circle on the anus, but you also get this big rashy butt strep. which the remedy strep faecalis, or the fecal strep, can be really helpful for, and he did well. He also did well with every single strep nosode that we have. We did syphilinum because she had had syphilis, and that helped with kind of the darker. He had an overbite and thick blonde hair and big eyelashes. He was this awesome. He had a pot belly, and he was awesome, you know. But there were aspects of him that really fit this idea of a rat. So when I asked her to do the sensation, what he's like on all fours, he's free when he's on all fours. Other children can't be on all fours in the way that he can. It's like his normal gait, and he's happy that way. Standing upright, he feels rigid. It's awkward. His ankles, he walks flat-footed. He feels euphoria and free when he's running around on all fours. It's so deep in his psyche. He'll own it. He'll be like, ta-da, now I'm this rat. And he'll make up different rat names. He would get other boys to be rats with him, and they made up a rat pack, and they would eat cheese. So, anyways, you get it. Guarded. He had face blindness. He couldn't recognize faces. I think some of this, he despised babies. Babies, like, really, when he heard them. And I've seen other kids, special needs kids, when they hear a baby cry, there's nothing that pisses them off more. It's clear to me that this child could easily, you know, have face blindness and not like babies because he had his first 3 years of life in a crib with very little interaction. You know, how is it that this rat nature kind of comes into this child? Survival. You know, the mother might have been in a survival state. Maybe she was in that rat nature, and like that was his nature. He's in that survival mind, and that's where the animal energy, it's somehow looped in that consciousness through our survival mind, right? So it was really cool to read and see the overlap in the proving. You know, I wouldn't have thought myself, oh, hunting, you know, as being something, but then it makes sense, right? And it ends up being a really wonderful remedy for him that he stayed on for at least a year with other remedies. We gave sulfur, carcinosin, scopolamine, you know, different nosodes. He ended up, I don't give you the full case here, he ended up being on the high school football team, like a normal, average performing, like not academically performing at all, to average academic performance, like just a jock. He ended up being like a weightlifting jock on the football team, and it was a really wonderful thing. His mother was one of those women, you know, she couldn't have kids. Actually, I shouldn't say that. For whatever reason, didn't have kids of her own, and was just a gem of like wanting to be of service and would do anything for this boy. And at the point where they were both in a good place, it was the sweetest thing because there was such a warmth between the mother and the child, and she really took this abandoned child and just, it was a wonderful thing. It doesn't always happen, you know. The adoption cases are possibly my hardest cases, because the degree to which trauma can occur, and then that can stick with the child. So, all right, so that's like survival mind of a mammal case. And what I want to share with you is the opposite. So I put up a lot of notes this past week in our Facebook group, just because there's so much that we can go through. And I'm not going to get through all of these cases here, but I just kind of wanted to share with you some of my coolest cases to really, so that you can get the themes of the mammals, like really see them as they play out in the cases. And then I want to hear from you guys too, if some of you have taken mammal cases or taken mammal remedies as well. Sarah, you asked, can you mistake strep for candida? Strep is a kind of like type A, I hate myself, OCD, repetitive thinking. And then Candida is more of the like spaced out, giggling, spinning in circles. You know, not really fully present kind of energy. They both make up, they balance each other out, and they both make and create a lot of the flora and a lot of the rashes that kids can have. So yeah, you can have like a yeasty butt rash too. So this, I'm gonna talk about lac caninum, which is dog milk. And this is the kind of dog that I had growing up, a Westie. What kind of dogs did you guys have? Has everybody had a dog here? I think everybody just loves dogs. And this is a really a common enough remedy. It's kind of like not as common probably as lachesis, but it is the most commonly prescribed mammal remedy, maybe other than lac maternum. And we have such a close relationship with dogs. And, you know, really realizing that we have stripped away their wild nature and they've become man's best friend, basset hounds. Yeah. I kind of, you know, they've done proving even on different types of dogs. There's like a husky proving, and I think there's even other ones, you know, because dogs do have their unique personalities. This case that I'm sharing was super cool. It ended up being a newspaper article. The kid did so well, and their neighbor was a reporter, and they got into the local news and it mentioned homeopathy. So it was it's still available, but you have to subscribe to that newspaper to see it. So this boy had Asperger's and the panda, so another Asperger's case. And this kid also had these eccentricities, which I'll share with you. And you know, when you first take a case, you're not thinking mammal right away, but like all the little behaviors start to build up. And then you have to start thinking, you know, wait, what is this? What's going on? So this little boy paces, walks in circles, has conversations between himself, two parts of him. Okay, so this is animals in general. Animals, we have our animal side and our human side. And then there's often this idea of this split. This split is talked about with snakes. It's talked about with thuya. But it's also the animals have this, like the side of themselves that's the animal side and the side of themselves that's supposed to be the human. Yeah, so you gave lac caninum a week ago. He became softer, calmer, didn't blow up as much. Eyebrows are coming back. Okay, interesting. Okay. So this boy loved to imitate and he loved to wear costumes. I've definitely seen this with the mammals. Into sound effects, costumes, imitating other kids. This kid would imitate his friend so much that when he had a friend had like a nail infection, he tried to infect his own nail so he could be like his friend. You know what I mean? So you're like, it's to an extreme degree. His obsessions, he was obsessed with the movements of trees. And he would stare and photograph how trees would move in the wind and create whole photo albums of the movement of trees. And then it would move on to wind chimes, like really into wind chimes, really into sneakers, really into the American flag. So it was very cute, very consumed and fixated on his friends. So like, you're the most awesome person in the world, and then would walk like them. If a kid got a nosebleed, he would try to make himself get a bloody nose. So, you know, these kids want to be social, but they can be awkward in it. He saw a boy trip and fall, so he made himself trip and fall, right? He had some of the keynotes of lac caninum are fear of choking, fear of vomiting, will drink a lot of water at once to prevent himself from choking on something. You can see that with dogs when they're like, you know, they do that thing too. They choke on stuff. I took latcaninum, then had a cranial sacral treatment, and went on a river, and I met the dogs that guard the river Cerberus. That was like a very European thing to have happened. Doesn't Cerberus mean dog? Anyways, so this boy will, when he's about to throw up, will start shaking and go pale. He does a head shake thing, very sensitive to smells. So when I read this to you, think of the dog. When I'm taking the notes for the case, I didn't think of a dog right away, but like it starts to add up. He can smell something, you know, he could smell that it was about to snow, and he'd say, it's about to snow, and it snowed. So he had that type of smell, which probably a dog can do too. Very competitive, really into like proud of autism awareness. You know, some of these families, like, it's not, autism isn't something to hide, it's something to be proud of, you know, and that's a very mammal thing, you know, like, hey, this is who I am, you know. Um, let's see. Very, very upset if people are mad at him, scared if people are mad at him. Trying to identify with too many things, too many fascinations, getting unsettled. So this is, you know, I think I shared the cycle of latcaninum that Paul Herskew had made up, which is kind of getting overly excited with all of these things around you. And you can see a dog do that, and then maybe trying to please too much. And then getting spacey, you know, too much like out here, too much in the sensory. It's kind of like cannabis indica, like pot, the remedy from pot, too spacey, too sensory, too out there. The mom had a lot of abuse as a child. Her father was a pedophile. She would hide herself in a trash can, think of herself as trash. Another thing that moms who need mammals, they can feel embarrassed of their pregnancies. It's like they want to hide it, or they feel conscious of being fat or having that belly. That can be a mammal thing, that shamed of my body. Yeah, her dad would put her down, and then her mother would treat her child like a dog. She treats him like a dog, pats him on the head, then shoos him away. Okay, and so the words that people use, like shoo away or prodded, you know, like make note of those, because those little words, they show you the animal in a way. So, you know, I'm scrolling fast through these notes. Yeah, he had fear of toe socks for whatever reason. He had a lot of strange, rare and peculiar. So I ended up giving him latcaninum for the dog thing. He had a pet dog too, who he loved babies, and he would hold his dog and be like, isn't this the cutest dog in the world? I love my dog. It's a baby. It's a baby. And I don't know, my daughter with the baby thing, it's unbelievable. You know, some kids are so into the babies and the nurturing thing. And you might want to think about a milk remedy, you know, either lac maternum or a lac animal remedy when kids are so into the baby thing. This boy was really into the baby thing, really into dogs. And he just did amazing, and you guys can read about it, but amazing enough to get him a newspaper article. And he would call it his magic water and feel good after drinking it, and really helped him. He called it his cool fresh water. Yeah. So yeah, Paul Herskew's cycle on latcaninum: overly excited nervous system, getting hysterical, strange perceptions, and then feeling bad about themselves. I took latcaninum at one point, and sometimes that feeling bad about yourself, it's so subconscious that you don't even realize it. You know, I think there's a lot of subtle ways. I remember when I stepped into a pile of dog poop when I was a little girl running outside, and I felt terrible. Like, I was like, oh, there's something wrong that this happened to me. You know, and so that feeling like there's something wrong about myself, or there's something dirty, you know, or maybe dirty about sex, or that, or, you know, the animal part of ourselves. Um, Lacanine has been like I've prescribed it at probably at least 5 or 6 times successfully for pandas cases, and it can have this alternating throat infection thing where like sore throats, but sore throats that kind of alternate sides. So there's that too. But overall, have also seen it really overlap with staph aureus, that kind of embarrassed easily, wanting to please. In a way, victim mentality, but they don't act like a victim in the way that like it's like a negative whining victim. They're kind of a happy and cheerful to be too victimized. I have seen other mammal. I have a dear friend of mine who I gave dog milk to, but then cow milk, and she had a lot of menstrual issues, and she felt really easily victimized by men, and there were issues with children and having children, and I think submissive is a better word than victimize. Victimize, I often see and associate more with stage 16 and 17, Now that the Radis case, you could say, oh man, he's victimized. Now, he didn't act like, oh, poor me, I deserve this, like, do this for me, like, in that kind of a victim. He felt like he was ugly and sad, like he was an orphan and his mother didn't love him, but he did want friends, and he did want to be popular, and he eventually, with the strut and the dosing, he ended up having a much more positive view of himself, not so self-hating. As far as boundaries, yeah, poor boundaries with the laccaninum. And we could talk about that with lacphalinum. Actually, there's enough, because I want to have somebody else talk. Lacphalinum is also very empathic, and I was talking to Sarah about this. So lacphalinum and lacleo are both cats, and actually, I think I have Melinda. Are you on? And can you share? Let's see. Did I? Muck Computer. Melinda, is that you at Muck Computer? No. Yes. Hello. No, I don't think so. Okay. Then I will have Sarah. I will have you speak. Anybody else take laccaninum or lacphalinum? All right. So tell us about lacphalinum or lacleo.
Oh, you're talking to me. Hi, everybody. Yep. I was prescribed by my homeopath lacleoninum for breast issues, but really what she was prescribing it for was deep emotional issues with my mother, mainly kind of rage that was like a huge roar inside of me that needed to come out. And I had a tendency to over nurture other people because there was an imbalance in my mothering with my mother, and I took it, and a problem that I had had for 2 years with, let's say, like fibrositis or something in the breast tissue just disappeared overnight. And yeah, it was really powerful. And I think it really did help change my relationship with my mother as well, with the laccaninum. But I am, if I think about my life, I'm very connected to cats, and so that made sense. And yeah, I mean, I've taken what I said earlier is that I prescribe laccaninum for myself actually, and sometimes if you have a treatment and you take a remedy, it kind of makes it stronger. I went to see my friend who's a craniosacral therapist, and then I went on this kind of spontaneous, like, shamanic journey to the underworld, where I met these dogs of Cerebus who, and this is really wild, which were guarding River Styx in the underworld. And I went across it into a shanty town, and I went into a shack, and I found my inner child in a hole in the ground. And I kind of took it and tucked it under my arm and then went back. And then we kind of clambered up this hillside. And then I looked down and there was this big party for me that I had actually kind of rescued part of myself. But because I took that remedy, like caninum, and it was really all about a really low self-worth. And part of that was because I had lost an aspect of myself. And in this journey, I claimed it, but that was lacuninum.
Wow. So you took lacuninum and then you had a cranial sacral treatment, and the cranial sacral treatment, you had this whole journey that happened in the midst of it where you
Yeah,
basically reclaimed an lost aspect of yourself.
exactly. But it was all about, as I said, a lack of self-worth. And it went back to losing an aspect of myself as a child somewhere along the line. But, that was the root of it.
That's beautiful. And I have definitely seen that with this remedy, giving it to people who, have that low sense of self-worth, maybe through sexual abuse or through, not giving a sense of worthiness or being treated kind of lowly as a kid, and then that kind of really get recovered within them. So that's awesome. A soul retrieval. And then you took Lac Leo as well, which
Yes,
helped with the breast thing.
and I took Lacleo, but have I taken anything else? I think I've taken Lac Humanum, I've taken Lac Maternum. Um, I love those milk remedies. I find them really powerful, and I've got a lot of mother issues with my mother, and they've just helped me heal those without having to deal with her personally. Um, and I was thinking of giving tigrinum, I think it's called, for my daughter because she is like a tiger. I call her Tiger Ninja, a ninja tiger, and she growls at me and stuff like that. So it kind of makes sense with the family line, having a relationship with cat remedies. But she probably has one as well.
Right.
Um, and
Right. And so like cats are another domesticated animal, but cats are different from dogs in a way. They're more, I mean, they kind of feel us energetically, but they do their own thing, and you can communicate with them psychically, and they're a little bit pickier and choosier. And
yeah,
that comes across, right? How would you describe your cats as different?
I think they describe different aspects of ourselves. As you said, I think there is the domesticated aspect of human beings as a part of society, and then there's the wild aspect of ourselves. And I think the dog really connects more to the more homogenized and conditioned self, whereas the I think the cat is a more kind of like something a bit more primal and almost like a reclaiming of a wild aspect of ourselves. That's how I feel about it.
Right, right, right. Awesome. So you'll see that differentiation because like there's actually also wolf milk. So wolf milk, I've given it to a couple kids, really wild and highly energetic boys, like too wild and energetic, like homeschooled kids. I have a friend who he was a rugby player and he had a pet wolf and was super into wolves. And I asked him why he liked rugby. He played professionally. He's like, I just like to dominate. It's like a very wolf energy. This like, boom, wants to be on this team and like dominate other men in this like team energy. Um, and it's different than just the dog. My friend of mine, he had a really hard time settling down in marriage with kids. It was very hard for him because that wild nature in him, this primal, you know, powerful wolf nature did not want to be tamed. And sadly, his pet wolf got run over by a car right when he was trying to settle down and have kids. It was like a very energetically interesting thing to have happened.
Mm.
Yeah, someone wrote, just thinking how we domesticate everything. Our food's domesticated, plants are domesticated. Exactly, we disconnect from the earth. Um, Absolutely, and let me go back to my notes. Thanks for sharing, Sarah. If any of you have other mammal experiences, please share. So cats tend to be this is the one mammal that really overlaps with the lungs, asthma, and allergies. And I've seen people whose asthma has completely disappeared and cat allergies have disappeared with this. And, you know, I have a case here of another Asperger's boy who had synesthesia, meaning he would see colors as numbers and he was very artistically inclined. And that comes across in the cat Materia medica is kind of picky and choosy with your friends and artistically inclined and kind of like a more of a refinement with them. And this child was very artistic. He wanted to be Van Gogh and he would copy those drawings. You know, I started off, you know, a lot of these cases, I start off with a mineral remedy or a nosode like carcinosin. I started off with natrum phos for him. And it helped him, but he had issues with socializing and this Asperger's thing. And what the cat remedy did was really help him socialize a lot better and get along better with other kids. This is actually somebody in our class's case. I'm going to let her share online about this case. Sometimes proving, so, you know, I had one of you guys give lacphalinum to your kid and she started like swatting or lashing out. Sometimes a little proving symptom will come up where you're like, you almost see the animal come up a little bit more after giving the remedy, but it should go away. Mostly, why are we giving these remedies? We're giving these remedies to help actually let go of a behavioral pattern that's limiting to us in a way. Lacphalinum, I've also seen a lot of visual stuff. So allergy, asthma, and you know, the eyes, issues around the eyes, and also, you know, really a fear of like things affecting their eyes. In the proving, there's a fear of things being poked in the eye or having little styes in the eyes. Yeah. Yeah, and this was the case where I gave lacphalinum, and then at one point, he didn't need it anymore, and he started rummaging through the cabinets in his kitchen at night and wanting sugar, like any sugar. And we just didn't know what to do. And it went a couple of appointments and we didn't know what to do because he was waking everybody up at night, rummaging in the cabinets for sugar. And we did the sensation process. And the mom imagined she was him. And we realized that what was coming through in her sensation was a mouse. And we gave mus musculus, which is the mouse remedy. And he stopped waking up at night to rummage for sugar in his kitchen, which is the craziest thing. Because you're like, well, wait, he went from needing a cat remedy to a mouse remedy. That's like a joke, right? But it just is. It's just what happened. So, all right. Another very domesticated animal is the horse. I love this case because the mom, this was an ASD kind of Asperger's-y boy. I treated with first lat caninum and it didn't work. Like he fit the fact that he was easily embarrassed, low self-worth, you know, wanted to be part of this friend group, interesting obsessions, and the lat caninum just flared him or exacerbated him. And somehow the mom knew that he needed a different remedy. She was very tuned in and sensitive. And then she just started giving me these words like, he feels prodded. And when someone's in his space, he rears back. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, that sounds like a horse. He feels ridden, you know. And then at some point, the mom takes the remedy and she had a hard time getting pregnant with her first, but she ended up getting pregnant just like that right after taking lacaquinum, because I think it got her in touch with her like hormones and her natural self. And her pregnancy was so hilarious. It was like hearing the words of a horse through a woman's mouth, like, my back hurt. I felt like someone had strapped me down, and and this guy got in my space, and I just, butted him. All of these things came up in the case, and it was beautiful. It was a really awesome case. Um, so he had a survivor's cry. She talked about that survivor. This woman also, she had a group of friends that were her small cluster of friends, her herd. And so some people need to have your little herd, this is where I feel close. I see this in kids. They have their clique, and kids go into their little cliques, their little herds, and that's where they have. And if you can have that herd for life, oh, if I can have this group of friends for life, how meaningful that will be. And that's how mammals live, in these herds for life, and the closeness of that heart-to-heart contact of that herd for life. This mom had mastitis, a lot of breast and hormonal stuff. This boy loved, his favorite thing was to have a little, boss a boy around and have this little boy follow him around. No matter where he went, another little boy following him around. But he got really aggravated when another bigger boy told him what to do. And at one point, this bigger boy told him, jump, and he had to jump. And the boy said, hop, and he had to hop. And it like disturbed him mentally. Like for weeks, he talked about how he was made to follow around and jump and hop. And as I'm typing these notes, I'm not thinking horse. But when I go back through and I read and I know it was a good horse prescription, you can read through and you're like, oh my goodness, so much of the personality of what it is to be a horse kind of comes through. He doesn't like to be prodded, personal space issues. He loved all types of animals. I didn't particularly like horses, although the mother mentions horses. Sometimes he had this thing where he had to look at things at like linearly, like his eyes had to kind of see the linearity of like lines, and he'd walk around something in circles, he'd walk around the table in circles, and you're like, wow, you start to almost feel the energy of a soul of a particular horse. It's not just horse in general. You're like, this feels like a particular horse. This case made me think that humans, that maybe we spend lives as other animals. Like we literally spend a life as an animal and we get reborn as a human, because it was so close to the behavior of a particular horse that came through here. But he did, I must have treated this family for 2 or 3 years, and he did fantastic. He ended up moving on to just needing remedies like kelp carb, but laca quinum ended up being a great remedy for him overall. More confidence. He was more coordinated in his body movements. He was able to kind of be more, get out of these weird cluster of behaviors that put him into the category of autism. He was no longer in that category after these remedies, after laca quinum. I once gave laca quinum to a case. It was like a 20-something-year-old boy who was nonverbal. The only thing he said, he would wake up out of a bad dream and he said, horse bite. That was his only word, horse bite. And this was an international case. I couldn't get a lot of like notes, and I'm like, oh my God, could this kid need horse? And I muscle tested, and I'm like, yes, and he did great. What it didn't make him verbal. It just made him a lot more easygoing and cooperative, and he just did better overall, and happier in life with the remedy. So, okay, I think I'm gonna share with you, I wanna share with you guys dolphin and cow, and then I'll just scroll through a little bit of the differential. These are all, you can end up seeing these cases. These are the most common, I think the most well understood mammal remedies and well-developed materia medica. Am I right, Sarah, with that probably? And then all of these other little ones like pig milk or rabbit milk or fox milk or deer, there's provings on them. And some of you guys had those remedies come to you in the guided meditation we did last week. So look at them. You can say, oh, does this fit for me? Okay. So I'll bounce up to the dolphin. So dolphin and whale, you know, and there's seal too, and there's manatees, and there's lots of mammals that um, are water mammals, ocean mammals. Have you guys ever heard of the theory that the mammals, like the dolphins, are descendants from pack animals, from like wolves, or like some sort of like herd animal, like hippo? I think they say that the hippopotamus or something like that became the whale, and wolves became dolphins, or like a wolf-like creature became the dolphins. So it was like an evolution back into the ocean. So it's like, anyways, I've heard of this evolutionary link, but I have two lac delphinum cases, dolphin cases, and in both of the cases, both of the kids, they're pandas cases, panda C/Asperger's cases, were both obsessed with wolves and dolphins. Like that was their thing, wolves and dolphins. So I could have given either, but I ended up giving wolves. The first case was a girl who had multiple chemical sensitivity and Lyme's disease and parasites and stuff. She was so awesome. This girl was so sparkly, so phosphorusy. In general, the dolphin cases I've seen tend to be like very animated, happy, silly, phosphorusy type people. They're that on one hand. And then on the other hand, they're fatigued, burned out. They have this hidden side of them that's gray, depressed, lifeless, and sad, you know? And they're very sensitive animals. I kind of think of like them as having like, they kind of end up consuming, I think, a lot of junk in the ocean. And I've seen, you know, both of these cases, they had a lot of like GI problems and GI sensitivities. And it was almost like there was like a junk happening in their gut. One of you had taken lacdelphinum just yesterday or something, and it was almost like you said you had started talking like a surfer. Who was it? Sophia? No, Sasha. Sasha, you started. I thought of that. You said that you took it and you started talking like a surfer, like in surfer speech, and I was like, oh, I bet Keanu Reeves needs lacdelphinum. I love Keanu. I've always thought he was very cute. And I'm like, oh, now I get it. He's a dolphin. Whoa. Killer wave. Yeah. Sasha, you want to come on and give us some of your dolphin speak? Mount Shasta, which is close to where I live, is like this total new age hub. And you know how the new age has the dolphin thing? Anyways, there's a guy there who like talks to dolphins and connects with dolphins and takes people on dolphin journeys. And I think he calls himself Dolphinanda. And he speaks like this and he talks to everybody like this. It is, I swear to God. And he does his dolphin speak, and it's totally helium voice. So there is a kind of a helium energy to it too. This girl was super happy, fun-loving, really into her obsession. She had a tongue problem, and that's part of the proving of dolphin too, is ulcers or weird things on the tongue. She easily throws up, has explosive BMs, white spots on her tongue, generalized anxiety, multiple chemical sensitivity, a lot of like numb toenails, fear of injuring her toes, doesn't like being told what to do, very enthusiastic, infectiously enthusiastic. So I got to speak with her, and she wants to become whatever she's interested in. So she's like loving something so much, I want to become it. So she was into the planets, and she becomes Saturn. She loved the idea of wolf packs and the idea that there's like a, a hierarchy within the wolf pack. This girl was so joyful. So she loved swimming. She loved the idea of being, oh, this was her. This was my conversation with her. She talks about Nanda tales and dragons, and she likes it because the family's a pack. I'm a pack animal myself. I like teamwork. I like it when everybody gets along. That's my favorite thing, is when we all have something to do. My dream is everybody comes out of their houses after a storm and everybody helps each other. Okay, it's so cute. And wants to swim. Swimming is epic. It's dynamic. This is how she talks. I love wolves. They're so epic. She talks that way. Yeah, it's so awesome. I love the pack structure. Yeah, issues with stuff in their belly. So you can hear this like mammals theme, right? With her, this wanting to be a part of the group, wanting to be a part of the pack. Same with the wolves. I could have given wolf, but I gave dolphin because of the materia medica and the tongue issues. She was so phosphorusy. I could have switched to, and sometimes I look back on these cases and think of what I could have done better, but she did wonderful. She basically got all of her energy back and was able to do her activities again. Her tongue got better. Yeah. So playful, amorous, sexual. What had come up in this case, and I kind of feel bad about it in a way. She developed sexual thoughts, and it was hard to say whether that was part of puberty or that was part of the remedy or that was part of what was natural to her. And I am conflicted myself. When kids are sexual, what is natural, and what do we suppress, and what do we say that's okay? And I think everybody's kind of confused about it because we suppress that part of ourselves. Like when and for some people with kids develop sexual thoughts and you think that there's something wrong with them, and for some people think that's totally normal. So that was a challenging part of the case because she was in that puberty place. So I think it's something that we all have to kind of figure out and work through for ourselves. This other Black Delphinum case was really cool. The mom says he's very sensitive to emotional undercurrents. And I would say that's true for the mammal remedies. They're like the ocean mammals. They're like these very watery, emotional people. Ambergresia, they have this soulfulness to them that's so massive and just feels like, I imagine their astrological chart is having a ton of water in it. So there's just a feeling nature to the particular water mammals. And I haven't gotten a chance to figure out seal. I think my daughter needs seal. So if I give her that remedy, I'll let you know. I partly think she needs seals because I had this most intense seal experience that I shared with you guys when I was pregnant, and just came up to me and was like staring at me. So this boy did really well. What was so interesting was the sensation of his stomach pain was described as a shark bite. And he felt like a shark had come in and torn out his guts. And he had multiple times where wild dolphins came up and swam up to him when he was out in the ocean. And I had seen that with the whale remedies I've given too before. I gave, these kids sometimes can have a really unique one-on-one experience with an animal. Yeah, I mean, the seal and the dog probably are similar as well. Okay, so the last remedy that I really want to cover with you guys in detail through cases, just because I think it's important for you guys to know, is cow milk. And I know I didn't put it into these notes, and I don't know why. I just thought of it later. Um, you guys can, if you want to read through these notes, I did put in ambergris a bit, and our proving, um, our little bit of a proving project is going to we'll cover ambergris at that. You guys have any thoughts at this point? A pod of dolphins came every day when I was pregnant, just down from my house. Yeah, at one point when I was pregnant, this huge pod of whales came into this part of Seattle that never really has them, and I got to watch them swim by, and oh man, it was really awesome. So yeah, any other mammal sightings? So I'm going to share with you this. It's funny, I have in one of these cases, like a couple of them being vegetarian and going back and forth between eating meat and being vegetarian. And I think of that a lot. I think of like how the animal kingdom has this whole variety of, herbivore, omnivore, carnivore, and how that probably is how humans should be. There's some of us that it's so natural for us to be herbivores, and so natural for some of us to be omnivores, and so natural for some of us to be carnivores, and like that's how nature is, and I've seen when I give these remedies, the case switch from only never wanting to eat meat to wanting to eat meat, or eating meat and not wanting to eat meat. And I'm not quite sure, like why all of that is. Is there a particular materia medica just on animals? There are materia medicas on groups of animals. So Sankaran has snakes, ocean animals. I believe he probably has the mammals. So you can find them out there, but in terms of like a materia medica that's just animals, I don't know, Sarah, have you seen that? I'm not sure if I've seen that. I think it's because it's such a large group, like, you know, it's usually if you want to specialize, like I have a book on butterflies and different groups like that. Massimo has one. Oh, right. And the notes I have in here are, some of them are from Massimo as well. And Nancy Herrick, who has done a lot of provings on animals. Thank you. Okay. So I wanted to talk about cow because of cow milk and dairy. And I think it might be an underprescribed remedy. My sense is that like so many kids who have um, uh, milk and dairy issues, and then the low functioning immune system, and then the ear infections and the runny noses, we really should be giving lactaxin a lot more often than we are giving it to kids. What we're doing is we're avoiding dairy, which is also a fine thing to do. How do you guys feel about the dairy industry? I feel conflicted about the dairy industry. I'm always trying to get organic as much as possible, but sometimes I want to get, a cheap thing of mozzarella cheese and I don't. And sometimes I just want to avoid dairy altogether, because it's a really painful industry. There's so much suffering of cattle associated with dairy. You could say that about the meat industry as well. But I would say the dairy industry has a lot of harm and a lot of antibiotics, and a lot of hormones and all of that stuff, kind of looped into that. Anybody else want to spiel on the dairy industry? All right, where's this? Let me show you my notes on this one kid. So I had just hold on, where'd it go? Here we go. So this case was a pandas case of exactly that, really kind of anxious kid, tired, avoiding everything that was pressure on him, very stressed out in the school environment, history of rheumatic heart disease in the family. The mom had already started her child on the strep remedy and carcinosin. This child had infection after infection, to the point there, I think at some point he had a lot of colds and then stopped getting colds. A lot of anxiety, a lot of fear, angst ridden. He liked friends, very good with animals, very into babies, loved, wanted a dog, but the world in general scares him, claustrophobic. Um, I had posted in our Facebook group one other lac vaccinum case too. That lac vaccinum case was the case that ended up having also an article put out that ended up being nationally syndicated because the kid got better. And he had very low functioning, low functioning immune system, qualified for, IVIG. And the remedy from cow milk ended up being very key to getting his immune system back on track. And I think of that. I think of these kids who need the remedy from cow milk are reactive to cow milk. But have we destroyed the immunity of cows in general through all the antibiotics that they're given? Do cows have pandas? My guess is yes. They are not at the level of intelligence that you can say they're doing math and then it's declining. But there could be some definite deep suppressed anger. And for people that I've seen have an overlap with cows on an energetic level, either needing a remedy similar to cows, there is a deep suppressed rage. There is this kind of silica carcinosin softness on the surface and deep inside a sadness and rage. And this is what I think is actually happened in the cow animal world, right? Because of the human treatment of cows. So really, in India, they worship the cow, and I think that helps to make up for some of it. Maybe we should get a remedy made from the Indian cow as well. It's great, and I think that's probably awesome. In India, they worship cows, but they eat dairy. They're vegetarian, and they eat the dairy, and then the dairy, they actually say prayers over their ghee. When they're making their ghee, they'll pray mantras into it, and what that does to the food is probably a lot better than what we get from buying, butter at Safeway. Anyways, so this boy, the mother vomited with milk. The mother had extreme milk reactions. He had milk reactions as well, and had reactions even to his mother's breast milk. Tons of ear infections. One thing in my two strong lac vaccinum cases that I had was both of the kids had a lot of enuresis, a lot of easy wetting the bed or needing to go to the bathroom a lot. And that's in the proving of the cow. Also in the proving of cow milk is, I believe, neutropenia. I feel like I've seen it somewhere where there's low white blood cell or issues with white blood cell production. So the immune system, kind of a bit of a kidney issues, urinating a lot. And both of the cases had a lot of anxiety, a lot of easily kind of crushed, easily scared, separation anxiety, very silica carcinosin type of behaviors. A lot of infections. Let's see, what else? This boy, he was trapped in a laboratory and he had massive anxiety from being locked up in a laboratory. And you think of this, it's like the mom was like, most kids would get over that, but he didn't get over it. It stuck with him. And then you think of, what they do to, animals where they kind of lock them up and kind of gate them up and they trap them, and that is how that can be stressful. And I've seen that with kids as well. The kids, you know, when they freak out, get into the sensation of the kids. What is it that they are expressing and they're freaking out? Do they feel trapped? Trapped like what? So he felt trapped in his school situation, the classroom, too many kids, too much noise. His heart is like a frightened rabbit. He's tensed up, heart is racing. Um, you know, I gave carcinosin at the beginning. I didn't think to give cow milk until the mom says, you know, when I do the sensation process, and this is why I like the sensation process so much, because it gets past the story and it gets us into the deeper picture. So he's like a fox in a cage circling around, like fur animals kept on fur farms, circling around themselves. They can't get away. They're stressed. They're jumpy like a herd animal. The same nervous energy that you see from a herd animal. So mom is telling me here, give my child a herd animal remedy. You know, it's like, wow, those words coming through. I think I must have asked about the cow at that point because I found out a lot more about him and cow milk. He loved babies. Um, the couple cases of cow remedies where it's the person really embodied it. Not only they love babies, they went into professions where it was like baby taking care of, pediatric, you know, it's like that energy. Think of it, the mother is the cow, you know. But then what's also sad is the baby's taken away. So anyways, this boy stayed on that remedy for a long time. The strep, think of like, you know, the amount. Have you guys ever eaten beef and felt streppy afterwards? Like anger or the anger of cattle? Anybody? Absolutely. Yeah. Is there anybody in here who's sensitive enough to feel the energy of an animal after you've eaten that meat? Do you feel that, Heather, with different meats? Because I have, you know, and so, um, yeah, I get pretty angry often after I eat meat, you know, and it's like my jaw will get tight, and I'll just feel like, "Ugh." You know, I really feel that suppressed anger in that animal. I feel there is a very close connection to lactobacinum, cows, the cow industry, all the antibiotics, and the pandas that's out there, you know. Even pasture raised meat. So it's different. So that's why it's so different. Because sometimes, like, you know, I will eat, I'll eat meat and I'll feel none of that. And I'm like, well, maybe this cow didn't feel that way. It was raised differently. So, chicken, totally. Ashley, Heather, Sasha, do you want to share about your issues with eating different types of meat? Pasture raised now. Yeah, pasture raised feels a lot better, you know. And that's the thing is that there are animals out there that are given a very humane life and they're pasture raised and they're humanely, you know, slaughtered and you don't have that energy associated with it. I've been trying to actually get like wild game meats a lot more at my co-op when I'm eating meat just because it just seems um, my daughter would get very agitated after eating meat, and then we became vegetarian, and she became calmer and less aggressive. But then you started eating meat again. Can you share, Flavia?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, sorry. I'm all over the place. Yes, there was a point that the whole family kind of needed meat. There was nothing else for doing. Um, I have a problem with my phone. Hold on.
Here we go. That's better.
Yes. So
All right, pretty good. Yes, it's a challenge for us with meat and dairy. Maybe I'll put on. Okay. Um, I can't do deer. Deer makes me feel trapped and hunted. Here, Heather, I'm gonna put you on because maybe you work. Your phone better. All right, Heather.
Hi.
What's your experience with the different meats?
It's weird. I've avoided meat even as a kid. Like, I've always just felt unhappy. There's a lot of unhappiness. So yeah,
Right, and then the different experiences with
be
different meat.
angry. Huh?
And did you have different experiences with different types of meat?
Yeah, I've eaten a lot of different. My family's very carnivorous, and I'm adventurous.
Right.
The only one that has never bothered me emotionally is fish. Fish and shrimp. Oddly, I don't feel overwhelmingly anything with them. But every other mammal, absolutely. Rabbit, frog is a trip. Like, you feel boggy.
Interesting.
Yeah, like I want to be in the mud.
Interesting.
I guess rabbit's okay. I mean, with rabbit, you don't feel any upsetness. You kind of feel fast, and you feel light. I just don't enjoy that either. It feels like I'm taking.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, but it does for eating meat for your family. So if you feel that, does it feel like you still need to eat meat despite feeling that?
I don't. I was actually a vegan to raw vegan up until my son's diagnosis. For like, I avoided it. I ate it a lot as a kid and into my adulthood because of my family. But then after I got out from under them and was able to be more of myself, we didn't need it. We added it back in because they told me my son needed it.
Yeah.
We're slowly trying to phase it back out. So we swear it messes him up real bad. He gets really angry with beef and steak, especially beef liver. He just becomes a different person.
Right. You know, I think in a way it's how in a way when we eat meat, we become part of that animal cycle in a way. We take on some of that animal energy. And I try to have no judgment with it. You know, when I work with all of these families, everybody has a different dietary need. There's some families, I worked with an autistic family where the child could eat nothing but a pound of meat a day. That was all she could eat. You know, in some families, it just has to be vegan and vegetarian and that the whole range in between. So that non-judgmentalism is really important for me, and trying to find that. But I think we really step into the animal experience, consuming and being amongst animal products. You know, I actually here. Let me share with you guys really quickly the mammal differential so I separated out into my notes this mammal differential, partly because I wanted you to just have it as a separate piece of notes and to be able to read my my cases separately. But my mammal differential has some of these other animals in it, and we can kind of assume some of the energies of these other animals here. So we covered lacuninum. You guys feel good about that? The adaptability, wanting to please, low self-worth, the lack of equinum, the horse. The horse has a strong carcinosin-like overlap with this desire to be free, to be like unrestrained, to just run free like the wind, you know. The equinum cases that I've had have this kind of pacing, like almost all the autistic kids that I've given this remedy love to go on walks and walk around the block or walk in circles. Black delphinum, the super kind of bubbly, phosphorusy, out there, but kind of dull and fatigued kind of energy, very empathetic, and gut stuff. Black phelinum, very empathetic, choosy, artistic, lung stuff and eye stuff. The wolf, I've seen very energetic, like tapped into source energy, powerful, like nothing else. Like they can just, just plow through things, but also can be like bad, like not cooperate. The cow we just talked about, kind of fragile kids, listless, depressed, anxious about everything, poor immune system. I think it could be a useful intercurrent remedy for a lot of kids too, in the way that we're doing vaccine clears, is just cow milk, the remedy from cow milk. I've taken it a couple times. I used to, just have that kind of low level of depression after eating dairy and gut stuff. And lac vaccinum as a remedy has helped with that. This remedy, Moshe's, is a really unique remedy because there's a keynote where it's like hysterical kids who make up complaints to get attention. And there is a small subset of kids out there, usually girls, that I've given this remedy to for that. Tarantula, the spider remedies, they make up stuff. They feign illnesses for attention too. Goat, I've never given. Donkey, I've never given. Sheep, thought of, haven't given. Lion, I've given a bunch, mostly to adults who are very powerful, dominant type of people. They want loyalty, they're strong feeling, they're passionate, they're intense, they're powerful, they're leaders, they're fearless, issues of dominance, maybe issues with a spouse. Pig, I have given to a family member who was very sulfury, who was just, it looked like sulfur, but then had this kind of, a lot of, there's a keynote in there for pelvic girdle pain and issues with the back, like some disc problems. Camel have not given. Monkey have not given, but I gave gorilla to my daughter, gorilla blood. And she was just like doing these behaviors. She was like grabbing on me, pulling on me, and like pulling me to try and do things and kind of annoying me in a way. And I was just like, this is too much. And I gave her gorilla milk. And I have to say it stopped. That behavior stopped, her tugging and trying to pull me everywhere. And the next day after I gave her gorilla blood remedy, she just started talking about the planets. Like every one of the planets, her drawing got very detailed. It's almost like she made a little cognitive jump, but in this, like, it's like she just started, I don't know, talking a lot about the stars and the planets, and it was interesting. Monkey, I have not given, but it's supposed to have this kind of sexuality associated with it, according to Lou Klein. High sexuality, multiple partners, voyeurism, pornography, sprightly, bouncing around. I've never given this, but I had a roommate once who I came home from class and his computer's left open and there's a bong and there's porn. And I'm just like, oh my God, disgusting. But he was a very soul-free guy. He was just very bright, very sharp, really fun. And, I read about this and I was like, oh man, that guy. Rat, we've covered. Llama, haven't given. Elephant milk, elephant milk has a sadness associated with it. Like, the proving of it is very interesting. Lost in time, brain fog, quiet, sadness, depressed, moody. It seems to me what I experience when I think of elephants is sadness too. So some of you had mentioned these animals last week or 2 weeks ago, rabbit, fox, and deer. And so I didn't go into a lot of detail here, but I included informations on their provings in case you guys want to look them up and try them yourself. And if you do, please share. A lot of you said deer, and the deer has nurturing associated with it, artistic appreciation, and the need for space. Well, some of you had mentioned fox. The fox is an interesting one because it's proving is one of the few mammals that is solitary. I don't trust anyone, think somebody's gonna steal something from me, kind of on alert. The color red, impatience. It's almost like, it's like a little bit of like a more sprightly, independent animal. Not as much of a group-oriented animal, which every time I've seen a fox, I've seen one fox. So maybe there's something to that. And then rabbit milk, interesting, a couple of you had said that last week, has this like childish, weak will, easily taken advantage of, but also sexual. You know, you think of the Playboy bunny is kind of like the picture there going with the rabbit milk, but also being taken advantage of, like a pulsatilla. You know, I think of Marilyn Monroe or something. So that's it for tonight. I think we got through it all. Do you guys, is anybody, let's see. Monkey, yeah. Yeah, you know, there's the provings. Maybe your kid doesn't fit the provings, but there's many versions of monkeys out there. You know, and it doesn't necessarily have to fit a proving exactly. You know, so so owl we will cover in the animal in the birds class, and we are going to do the proving project on owl, bear, and whale. So I just wanted to talk to you about 20 of you. I sent out the proving packets, and this Friday we're going to take remedy number 1. I'm not telling you what it is. I'm going to take it. You can take it when I take it, so we could take it as a group. But if you don't want to take it that Friday and want to take it another time, fine. Okay, you can take it on your own time. Take it when you're not taking other remedies. If you're super, super, super sensitive, just hold the remedy to you, meditate on it, and just see what kind of comes up if you're afraid to take it. If you're of average sensitivity, take it once. I'm going to take it before bed, see what dreams come up for me, and then every experience that you have that next day, you know, oh, something broke, or I saw this, or or I smelled this, or I had a headache. Make note of it, because it really could signify something important about that remedy. Yeah, Judith, I didn't send it to you because I didn't get a yes from you, I don't think, but I can still send it to you. So if you didn't get it, I can still send it to you. Yeah, take it up I'm going to take it at bedtime, record my dreams. I dream more if I sleep more, so try to give yourself plenty of sleep. The dreaming is really nice after a remedy, and just to see what comes up. You can meditate on it like Sarah did, you know, with the dog. You can kind of do a cranial sacral kind of dive, you know, do a shamanic journey with it. Each remedy that we're doing a proving on is a powerful shamanic guide type of animal. So it will be a powerful remedy in a way that could bring deep healing to you. And I want to intention the possibility for deep healing. Owl, bear, and owl, bear, and whale is what we chose. So, oh, Sasha said with the dolphin remedy, I kept getting wrapped up in blankets and not able to get out of it. It keeps happening. Yeah, write those things down, things like that. Sasha, I'm so excited for you to do a proving on some of these. You're so sensitive. Homeopathic frog. I just gave Dendrobates, which is a frog, to somebody in our class and her kid had a really good response to it. I think that I would love to do a proving more on frog, and you had mentioned that, Heather. I believe frog can be a really powerful detox remedy. Right now, people are giving frog poison on the skin to induce immense detox and immune reactions. It's called combo ceremony. It's something people do in the Amazon, and they're doing, here in the US. So I think the frog has immense potential as a detox remedy. I think the frog on the planet, it's dying out. A lot of frogs are dying because they end up getting all these fungal infections, and they're like, just mass extinction is happening to frogs. So I really want to learn more about frogs. Yeah, caught in a net. So any questions on the proving? We can talk about that online too. So take the remedy, record for the next 1 or 2 days. If you feel like you're not that sensitive, take it, twice in a row. I'm supposed to wait a week between remedies for the proving, like between the 3 proving remedies. Yeah, I don't want you to necessarily do the proving remedy 1 and then the proving remedy 2 right away and then proving remedy 3 right away. Let's just take our time with it. So, we'll take the remedy 1, have a couple days of observation, and then maybe a week, a couple days into it, I'll have everybody share their experience in their Facebook group. Don't share it right away. Don't share your experience right away, because I don't want your experience to alter somebody else's experience from reading it. So share your experience once I say share your experience online. Because what you share, it might go into somebody's head and they're like, oh yeah, da 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 da. And I want it to be as unbiased as possible. Yeah, Saurus does carry frogs. So Bufo is a frog, which is known for kind of low brain function and executive functioning and masturbation and communication. And then there's another one, Dendrobates. Elephant, Lac elephas. We have, and that has a whole proving. Having access to these provings is helpful. You can look up homeopathic proving of frog. Sometimes it helps to look up the Latin name of it. You can email me and ask me if I have the proving. And sometimes I ask other homeopaths. I just asked Julie for the proving of deer. Oh, sorry, Lac. This is Lac elephas. Yeah. So, yeah. Are you wanting to give Lac elephas because your kid is like really into elephants or something? So let's just do a guided meditation to just kind of close up this wonderful class. Just close your eyes and just take a deep breath in and out. Hug yourself. Say, I love you. I love myself. In all aspects, I love the animal part of myself. I love my smell. I love my hair. I love my body. I love my breasts. I love my reproductive organs. And then just putting our hands over our heart, sending love. I send love to the animal kingdom, the mammals, and the domesticated animals. We thank you for all that you've done for us. We honor you. And to our pets who have served us by giving us love, we honor you. We honor our dogs and our cats and our horses who heal us and bring so much love into our lives. And we honor the wild animals, the wild, untamed, reminding us of an aspect of ourselves that sometimes feels long gone. And we honor this earth that has brought forth this full creation. And being part of the cycle of life in whatever way we are meant to be. And taking a deep breath in and out and just allowing all the mammals that we've touched on today to touch us in our souls so that we can understand them, prescribe them, and love homeopathy. All right, thank you guys. Thank you so much. Thank you, Sarah, for coming on tonight. That's the end of tonight's class. Love to you guys. And I hope you guys really got how cool these cases are, how wonderful it is to see the expression of the animal spirit in children, and then to get to give that remedy and help release something within them. It should be mind-blowing. It is, the potential is massive. So with your hearts and with your excitement, go into your communities with curiosity and just what is this with these special needs kids? Why are they stimming? Why are they acting this way? What does this feel like when they're making that noise? Go into it. And then the one last thing, when you're feeling like you're restrained and you're holding it together and you're in your car and everything's quiet, growl, just be get it out, to find that piece of wildness in you, and who cares, get it out, just let it out, or that cry, that primal yelling or that primal screaming or that primal sobbing, so being in touch. All right, love you guys a lot. See you in 2 weeks. And I'll keep posting up in our Facebook group. Is there zebra? I have no idea. I don't think so. But Sasha, I want you to do provings on all of these things you're interested in and write them down. For some of you who are really sensitive, it's so awesome. Homeopaths use your sensitivity to really hone in on what's special. And when in this proving, what the things that kind of overlap in our group end up showing us the kind of the nature that's there. There's already provings on owl and whale. There's not a proving that I know of on bear blood, but we'll see. I want you guys to learn from it. So, all right, you guys. Talk to you again in a couple weeks. Good night.